Hi, Nadine. So glad to have you with us.
Hi, Lorie. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm honored to be on your show.
Well, we're honored to have you, and I'm loving your books. You have written two books, and the first one was called Hold On, Let Go, Facing ALS with Courage, and it tells the story of your husband Michael's journey with ALS.
Mhm,
Take us back,
mhm.
Nadine, to the early part of your story with Michael, and tell us what happened.
Well, Lorie, Mike loved life. He loved to have fun. He loved making people laugh. He was easygoing. He was a proud dad and a new granddad. He was active and athletic. He was an avid runner. He worked two jobs as a registered nurse. He quit working the day he was diagnosed with ALS, which was March 7th, 2011. Of
Wow.
course, we were devastated. ALS is a terminal illness. He was given 2 to 5 years to live. After some of the shock and devastation wore off, Mike began his quest to fight the effects of ALS. He made some changes to his diet and exercise routine, among other things. But what he needed the most already existed within himself: an
Mm.
unwavering faith, a very positive attitude, a wonderful sense of humor and courage. And that's what inspired me to start my blog. I called it ALS with Courage. My blog was a great way to keep friends and family informed of Mike's
Mhm.
constantly changing condition, and it was also a great way to reveal his incredible spirit.
Yeah.
But even more than that, it became a ministry, it became therapy for me, and it became a collection of lessons, including the lesson of letting go.
Mm.
Mike let go of working, walking, talking, eating, moving, and slowly he let go of breathing. And slowly I let go of him. During the last 8 months of Mike's life, I wrote a book with his help. In it, I expand on the stories in my blog. I focus on his strength and determination,
Wow.
on our hope and faith in God, and on the sorrow and joy of learning to let go.
Mm.
And that's why it's called Hold On, Let Go, Facing ALS with Courage and Hope.
Well, I wish I had the privilege of meeting Mike because when I'm reading your story. I'm actually reading your next book right now, but you tell the story, and he just
Mhm.
sounds like such an inspiring person. But let me ask you this, Nadine, what was the role of prayer in your journey? I mean, even when you didn't get the answers you wanted.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, Lord, that's such a great question. Mike and I were married for almost 22 years when he was diagnosed with ALS. We prayed together as a couple, and praying together was an important part of our marriage. But, um, we were very busy, so we didn't have that regular prayer time. Like I said, he worked two jobs. Our three children were very involved in sports and other things, and I worked as well.
Mhm.
But when Mike quit work because of his diagnosis, all of a sudden we had this time, and we
Mm.
had a very good reason to petition God, the terminal diagnosis. Um, Eventually we considered it a gift.
Yeah.
God gave us this time, and He gave us this reason to seek Him like never before.
Yeah.
We prayed a lot for many things. We took our time. We didn't have to rush anymore.
Mm.
We prayed in the morning, and we prayed when we went to bed and at various times throughout the day.
Wow.
But our praying became less and less of what we wanted, that miraculous healing. And it became more about getting to know God better and growing in our relationship with Him
Mm.
and just spending time in His presence. As we surrendered our lives into His hands and trusted Him with His plan and whatever He had in store for us, Mike became very content in his situation.
Wow.
He never lost his will to live, and he fought to the very end. But he was so content.
Mm.
Early on, he he prayed a prayer that I'll never forget. He thanked God for the things in his life that he wanted, and he thanked God for the things in his life that he didn't want, like ALS.
Wow.
He said that his illness would cause him to rely on God more. He
Wow.
also referred to a situation as a win-win situation. He said, if our prayers are answered and I'm healed and I live, it's a win. And if I'm not healed and I die, of course I'm going to die, but I'll go to heaven and I'll be with Him. So that's
Yeah.
also a win.
Wow. Boy, there's a lesson on prayer. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. So powerful. I'm reading your second book right now, High and Wide, When Grief and Love Collide. And this is a standalone bestseller. You share how your journey of grief led you to love again. Well, tell us what happened.
Well, my first book launched 3 months after Mike passed away. So here I was mourning mourning the loss of my beloved husband, Michael. And I was this new author. All of a sudden I became this new author, and I had some book signings and speaking engagements and stuff like that. But one night, and this was a year already after Mike passed away. It was over a year, but I was preparing my speech for a conference that I was speaking at the next day, and all of a sudden I had this fear and negative thoughts that came upon me. And so I took a break and I checked my messages, and there I found a beautiful letter from a man that I didn't know. His name was Chris. He was a widower. He told me a little bit about his story and thanked me for my book, Hold On, Let Go. He said he found it at a local Christian bookstore just shortly before his wife passed away with cancer.
Wow.
He explained it this way, Lorie. He said he looked at a wall with many books, and my book was the only one that he could see.
Wow.
He said,
that's amazing.
I know. He said the look of love on the cover drew him over, and the title, Hold On, Let Go, spoke to him.
Yeah.
And he thought that my book could help him.
Wow.
And he said he didn't read it until a few months after Heather passed away. And then when he reached out to me, it had been another few months.
Wow.
But we became friends, and quickly we fell in love.
Yeah.
And about 14 months later, we got married.
Amazing.
I know. But my second book, High and Wide, I did write it to stand alone, but it is a continuation of my first book.
Yeah.
It's about the grief of losing Mike. I lost some other friends to ALS during that time, and my mom passed away as well after a short battle with cancer. And as much as my book is about that grief, it is about love.
Yeah.
Human and divine love. And the big picture is God's love, his high and wide, king-sized, extravagant love.
And, you know, I love that, because what I'm learning as I'm reading your book is that's why joy and grief can be intermingled. We don't have a lot of time, but can you just speak to those who are watching? They're going through a journey of grief. What are some steps that they can take to help them?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I'd say that, you know, grief is a result of love, and that's why grieving is so hard, because we love so much. We love deeply, and we are loved deeply. And loving that way is a gift, and it's to be treasured forever. You know, grief is very personal. We grieve in different ways. There's no right way. There's no wrong way, and there's no time frame. I'd say be kind to yourself and be patient, and be patient with others, because they don't know what to say.
That's so good.
It's normal to be afraid of grief, and it's normal to be angry. There's stages of grief, including anger and guilt, denial, depression. Eventually, there's acceptance, and that doesn't mean that the grieving ends. I think grieving the loss of a loved one never ends, but it does get easier. You're going to, you know, move. You may not ever move on, but it's possible to continue to move forward. A friend gave me some advice after Mike passed away. He said, you know, don't busy yourself to avoid the grief. He reminded me of the words of Jesus that said, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted.
Oh, that's
and you don't want to miss out on that comfort.
That's a really good point.
Steps.
Yeah, I think that's really good, Nadine. You know what? I'm encouraging people to go to 700club.ca, because you're going to learn more about Nadine. You're going to see her books there. I encourage you to pick it up, because I'm just loving it. And thank you for that reminder today that joy and grief can be intermingled together. Thank you for your story. We'll be right back with a behind-the-scenes look at actress Terry Copley's faith journey. Thank you, Nadine. God bless you.
Thank you, Lorie. Thank you so much.
Yeah.